Nasty boy.
Get that stuff out of here. It's Southwest Bias.
It's Southwest Bias, brought to you by our friends at Branded Bills. Get your hatwear and apparel through Branded Bills. Use that promo code PHNX and you're going to save 20% off your first order. And no, I'm not talking about Janet Jackson today on the program. I'm talking about one Cam Skattebo, who's about to make his dreams come true this weekend, becoming a member of the NFL. And I sat around yesterday trying to figure out how to actually quantify who he is as a football player, what his story comes down to. And you hear a lot of people will say overachiever for a guy that has a story like his, or, a guy that, there's a lot of ways that, you could look at him and put this lens on him and focus on certain elements. But I actually couldn't find one that felt right for me until I sat there and thought about it. I think it's as simple as, for Cam Skattebo, he has it. We've all known that kind of person throughout our lives. Somebody that has an innate talent. Somebody that maybe isn't the most talented human being, but if you put them in the right situation, they will dominate. They will prove themselves day in, day out. They'll outwork you, and they'll find a way at the end of the day to be at the top, whether it's business, whether it's sports, whatever the case may be. Even if it was school, we've all known that kind of person. And that is Cam Skattebo. I mean, he is a winner. And whoever drafts him, whether it's Thursday, Friday, or Saturday, is going to get somebody that will play a major role eventually for them. A guy that's going to come in and put the work and do something, whether it's on special teams in that first year or as a backup running back, or hell, if you really like him and as a starter, he's going to make a play that impacts your season, maybe multiple, that will make you a better football team. That's who Cam Skattebo is. Just look at it. High school, junior year, in a program that was good but not great before his arrival. He had 3,550 yards, 42 touchdowns, threw the ball as well, and had a state championship on his resume by the end of it. Cam Skattebo is a winner. But that wasn't enough for a D1 school to come calling outside of Sacramento State. Overlooked is a word that may be used for him. But he has it. He went to Sacramento State. In his 2 seasons there, they were 16-0 in their conference. They were winners. He was third team Big Sky in his first season. He went out there and he had an impact. But his sophomore year, that second year at Sac State, they finished 12-1. He had 1,382 yards, 7 touchdowns, finished first team Big Sky, was the Big Sky Offensive Player of the Year, and was an FCS All-American. Cam Skattebo is a winner. His junior year at ASU, we all know what happened, when he came here. Junior year, 783 rushing yards, 9 touchdowns, a passing touchdown, 8 punt returns for 8 punts for 338 yards. This guy is an all-around athlete, a guy that comes in and helps change the tide in a program. He was a big part of Kenny Dillingham getting this program to where it needs to be. And we know what that senior year looked like. But if you forgot, or you're somebody coming in from an NFL team that just drafted him, let me remind you of what domination looked like for him. 1,700 yards, 21 touchdowns, a school record for rushing yards. He won Peach Bowl Offensive MVP despite them losing. Oh, and he had the greatest puke and rally in history. And that's a guy that is at ASU the Hall of Fame of puke and rallies thanks to Mill Avenue. Cam Skattebo is a guy that's going to come in and change an NFL team for the better. Will he be the star? I don't know, but I can guarantee whoever drafts him, whatever fan base gets him, is going to get a guy that's going to work his ass off and prove that you did not waste that draft pick in any way, shape, or form. He'll come in, do the little things, and eventually make an impact play. But maybe that's just my Southwest bias. Really excited on the other side of the break. Cam Skattebo's high school coach, Jack Garceau, joins me to tell us all about the young man, Cameron Skattebo. Got to tell you about Branded Bills. You can see the hat here. You can see him back on the wall. Branded Bills has the best headwear and apparel in the business. It's that simple. And the best part, it's made right here in the Valley. They got a whole place over in Tempe. I've been there. I've seen them hand make these hats. It is unbelievable the attention to detail that they put in with the designs and everything that they do and the technology. It sounds funny to say technology when it comes to a hat, but they take it seriously with their fabrics and everything that they do. And if you're looking for a way to customize gear for your business, they've got you covered there too. We make custom PHNX hats through our friends at Branded Bills. They can do the same for your company. But if you're not somebody that owns a company and you're just looking for some amazing hats, they've got hats from your favorite teams, but they also have great state logos like I'm wearing and just fantastic general hats as well. So go to brandedbills.com, use the promo code PHNX, and you're going to save 20% off your first order. I got to tell you about my friends over at All Pro Shade Concepts. They have taken care of me like nobody else. I've been through a lot of different things at my house, having things installed, different projects that have gone on, but the easiest and most successful that I've had is with All Pro Shade Concepts. They came out and they gave me a free estimate, showed me all the materials that they were going to use for my window covering that I got for my giant sliding glass door. They said, hey, look, we can do this manual or we can do this electric. I said, give me electric because I'm lazy, right? And they came out and the installation was so easy. They were clean. They were fantastic in their craftsmanship, and everything got done in fast order. I couldn't be more happy with my All Pro Shade, and I want you to be happy as well. So give them a call at 623-204-1476 or visit allproshadeconcepts.com to sign up for your free estimate. I guarantee that you'll love it. Really excited to have Coach Jack Garceau of Rio Linda High School joining me. You probably have heard of Rio Linda High School. It is where Cam Skattebo went before he joined the college ranks. And Coach, tell me a little about what it was like to coach Cam in those early years.
Well, going back, I've known him since he was a little boy. His dad was from our high school, probably the best receiver we ever had here. I didn't coach him. He's older than I am. And then we had Cam's older brother, Leonard, and he was one of the best linebackers, running backs we ever had. And then, of course, we had Cam. So, when Leonard, his older brother, was in high school, we'd see Cam, and he was, I think, 10 years old at the time. And so you'd hear every week there's something about this kid. You got to go watch the junior nights game. We got this 10U guy that kills everybody and runs all over the place. And you go out there, and he was as advertised. And then so we got him in high school. And, I didn't know him that well. I just kind of knew of him and obviously knew the brother and all that. But I went home the first day of spring ball and told my wife, and the spring ball here in California, there's no shoulder pads, there's no helmets. And she's like, well, how'd it go? And I said, well, we've got the most competitive person I've ever been around on our team. And she was familiar with the family. She went to high school here as well. And she's like, oh, that makes sense. And, man, it was every single day there was something new and something fun to watch. And we knew what we were watching, but we weren't sure if anybody else really understood. And because you only get the quick glimpse of him on a Friday night, but we saw it every single day, and it was awesome to be a part of.
Take me back to his junior season. He had 3,550 yards, 42 touchdowns, and you guys won it all. What was that season like watching Cam behind that offensive line?
Well, first off, he grew tremendously as a player and a person from game one until the very end. And you know, just like any high school kid that's a stud, you know what I mean? He was self-centered in a lot of ways. You know, he was about himself and worked. The thing is, he always worked his tail off. Like there was never an issue with that. But sometimes, you know, you Cam would worry about stats and all that kind of stuff, and it was one of those things we'd have to put him back in his place. And as time went on, he started realizing, like, man, when I embrace everything going on around me, my teammates, all this stuff, it just makes this experience that much more enjoyable. And you know, I can really remember a time it was in a playoff game, real close, tight one, and we were having issues. Um, and he called his own shot, scored a touchdown on a 4th and 4. He said, I said, can you get 4 yards? And we were on our own 46 or something like that. And he goes, no, he's like, I'll score. I'm going to score. Just get the first. And of course he scored. And he turned around and immediately looked for offensive linemen. And as soon as he did that, it just changed everything. And, you know, we got hot and we got on a roll, and he was a huge piece of that. And, you know, it was kind of the rest is history. But, I mean, he made so many great plays during that run. You know, just a bunch of stuff he improvised. He had you know, the touchdown pass he threw against Texas. That whole second half, it really resembled the regional game that we played in, our NorCal regional that year against West Valley. Is, you know, he had a tough first half like he did against Texas, and kind of had a meltdown on the sideline like he did against Texas. So I'm watching that game on TV, and I'm, you know, making a joke with my son because my son at the time was our ball boy, so he remembers all this stuff. And he goes, "You think he's going to turn it around?" I said, "He always does. Like, I'm not even worried about that." And then, of course, boom, he scores. He throws a touchdown. He scores again. He's blocking people, and that's Cam.
Did he throw up on the sideline in that high school game too, or was that just something he saved for college?
No, I think he saved that one for college. He threw up, I think, in the locker room one time after a game, but because he was all worked up. But oh yeah, he was never afraid to show that kind of emotion and throw his body into everything he needed to. So, yep.
Was there a specific moment that season or any other season where you looked at him and you went, "This kid's got it, and he's going to wind up, you know, playing in the pros someday"?
I don't know if there was particularly a moment, you know, but we've had some great players come through our school. We had a guy named Marty Johnson that played at the University of Utah. He was on that great team with Alex Smith. He was a tailback. I think he still owns the single touchdown game record at Utah. I think he scored 5 touchdowns in a game. But, you know, he was a stud. And, you know, we had some guys from the area that we've known, you know, like Ontario Smith and guys that we've watched, Lance Briggs. And it's like, man, like every day you're watching him and we're sitting there going like, he's special. He's different. There's something about him. And you never knew where that was going to go, like where that was exactly going to take him. But it was like, man, if he gets in the right situation and he gets his mind right and he focuses, the sky's the limit. So like, I'm not shocked at all. I'm, you know, it's kind of a validation for myself, you know, with going through everything with the recruiting struggle and all that stuff and trying to get guys to understand who he was and, you know, take a shot on him. And, you know, this is all that stuff paying off for him now. And it's so great to see.
How surprised were you when Sacramento State was the only one that offered him a D1 scholarship with as much talent as he showed for you and obviously the person he had grown into?
You know, I was very shocked that things did not develop with a bigger school. They were coming. The schools were here. And, you know, it was one thing or another. It was his height. It was his weight. It was his speed. It was whatever. You heard everything. And it was like, just, you know, my thing was just give him a shot. Like, trust me, like you're not going to be upset at the end of the day. I promise you. And nobody really took that shot. And then we were so thankful and grateful for the fact. Sorry about that, school bell. we were so thankful for the fact that Troy Taylor gave him that shot. And at the same time, I think that was the kind of the Lord's way of working, because Cameron's so tied in with his family and all that kind of stuff. I don't know if he could have gone someplace like Arizona State right out of the gate and maybe had to wait his turn and go through those trials and tribulations. So that whole route that he had to take, it's so fitting for him, and it just adds to his story. And we're just so glad that he got that chance, and that he kind of doubled down on everything and made it what it was now. So it's great.
Do you have a favorite story about him off the field? Is there something you're willing to share about him off the field?
Off the field. Well, this will go back to when he was 10 years old. We were having football practice. His older brother was here. His dad would come watch practice and then would go coach Cameron at the junior nights practice across the street. But they always started later than we did. So we have these big mats that we would put across. We have an all-weather track, and our mats would go across there so that when you walked across with your cleats that you wouldn't mess it up. But we had to take them off for some purpose. I forget what it was. And they're awkward and heavy, and he's a 10-year-old kid, and he walks up, he sees kind of the hurt guys that are pulling these things off the field and stacking them up. And he goes, "Can I help?" And they're kind of almost annoyingly, "Yeah, go do whatever you got to do." And I've got high school kids that are struggling to move. And I hear someone runting and grunting. I look over, and he's got two of those things stacked up on top of each other on his back. And he's walking them up the stairs. And I don't know if you've seen the movie Vision Quest, the wrestling movie where the guy's carrying the telephone pole up the bleachers. It was very that's all I saw when I looked at him. I was like, "Oh my God." I said, "Are you all right?" "Oh yeah, it's light. It's no problem. No problem at all." And just goes and stacks them up, and went and grabbed another two and did the same thing. So back then, you saw it, and that one's always stuck in my mind because I thought it was so funny. And I was like, dang, that's a strong kid right there, 10 years old, being able to drag some weight around like that. So, and he proved us right. So it was great.
If you could use one word to describe him, what would that word be?
Nasty. You're talking about on the football field, right?
Yes, on the football field, yes.
Oh, nasty. That's the best word that I could come up with. There was times where, if you want a guy on the other team to have a target on his back, and you definitely want to deliver a message, that's the guy that you say, "Listen, I want you to make this a personal grudge match against so and so." And he would do it. He'd do the old Michael Jordan thing and come up with something and find a way to take things personal, and then he'd go out there and impose his will. And he was just that way, and I love watching him block people. He's obviously a fantastic runner, and that's so much fun. But my favorite thing is to watch him block. And if you focused in on that and just watched his blocking ability, I think you would agree with the nasty term also, just because he's not trying to block you. He's trying to end your day. And not nothing cheap or anything like that, but it's like, no, I'm going to let you have one. You know what I mean? And that's what made him so much fun to be around.
Do you have a team you're hoping on this weekend that calls his name, or are you just going to be happy that his dream of making the NFL comes true?
Oh, it doesn't matter. I'm a Packer fan, so of course that would be awesome. But anybody outside of the NFC North would be great, unless it's the Packers. But I honestly, I want him to go to a place that is going to get him on the field as quickly as he possibly can, because I think he's ready for that. And just a place where he can fit in and, maybe, grow some family roots there and have a great career in one spot and be one of those guys. Because one of his huge deals is his loyalty. And he was loyal to us in high school. We weren't a huge program before he got here. We were known and we were solid, but he could have gone anywhere, and he chose to stay home, and that was awesome. And Troy Taylor, after he left Sac State, that's the only reason Cameron left, was because Troy Taylor left. So kind of opened the door, because he wanted to be coached by Troy Taylor, because that's the guy that gave him a shot, and that's the level that he's at with his loyalty. And he just didn't have Stanford grades at the time, so he couldn't follow Troy Taylor. But I think that everybody's now seen his relationship with Dillingham and how that's developed, and that's going to be a lifelong relationship. And his relationship with myself, it's a lifelong relationship, and that's just the kind of guy that he is.
Well, Coach, we appreciate your time. We heard the bell. We know it's time to go. Thank you so much for your time, and congratulations for your impact on Cam's life and what he gets to accomplish this weekend.
Hey, you know what? And I'll say the same thing to all you guys out there in Arizona. I came out for the BYU game, and just what I saw and the way that he was embraced and the way people talked to me. I was wearing some stuff that kind of gave away who I might have been or whatever. But, just to see how they embraced him and how they look at him and how you guys talk about him and treat him and all that kind of stuff, that's you guys are first class all the way out there. And I'll be an Arizona State fan from here on out just because of that. So, no, thank you guys for everything you did for him as well. That's awesome.
Thanks, Coach. We'll talk maybe again in the future when we see Cam on the gridiron in the NFL.
Sounds great. I appreciate it.
Always great to catch up with a high school coach of one of the great college athletes in the state. We're going to move away from college football and the NFL draft for a second because I found this on the internet. We're going to web sling a little bit. It is a supposed leak of the Arizona Diamondbacks City Connect uniforms. You see it from Talking Baseball here. And I can make you all feel a little bit better because I saw the internet freaking out a little bit that this might be the real thing. It is not the actual City Connect jersey. I may or may not have seen them, and maybe the color scheme makes sense. Go look at Lourdes Gurriel's cleats that he had that were in this similar color scheme. You're going to get an idea of it. You've seen one of the players' belts with the purple and teal. So I can tell you purple and teal makes a lot of sense, but the word mark on that is certainly not what you're going to see. And like I've told you about on this program, I love leaks online, but you can't trust all of them because people will leak multiple things. And what I'm guessing this was one of the options presented to the Arizona Diamondbacks of what they could do with their City Connect. In my time with the Suns, I got to experience how this process works. In particular, with Nike, and I saw it with Adidas as well. They present you with multiple iterations of what it is. The first round is different looks and feels. Then you kind of hone in on the general idea of what you want, and then they present you with multiple options based on that. I'm guessing this was one of the options that they had in terms of jerseys they could have gone for with the City Connect program, but they decided against this. I can tell you that for a fact, but I think you'll really like the jerseys that they do come out with. Elements of what you see there, but plenty of things that I think you're going to enjoy as Arizona Diamondbacks fans. You'll see these leaks. I've heard rumors we'll see some new Suns uniforms coming up next year. You'll see some leaks there. I'm sure you don't always get them right. And there's a lot of guessing online when we hear these jerseys are coming. As you can tell, I am a huge uniform nerd. The helmet on the table probably gives that away too with the Arizona Hotshots. I take this stuff seriously. I sweat over a hot microphone to make sure you guys know what's right, what's wrong, and what is just complete lunacy on the internet when it comes to uniforms. And you can put that one in the not right category, probably a concept jersey that Nike presented to the team. So that is another edition of Southwest Bias brought to you by friends at Branded Bills. Don't forget to use that promo code PHNX when checking out. You're going to save 20% on your first order. Big thanks to Jack Garceau, the head coach that coached Cam Skattebo in high school. And Cam, good luck in the NFL draft. A big thank you for Noah and Shane behind the Mac. We had them both work because this show is so big, you need two producers with mustaches behind the Mac. I'm Espo. Follow me on Twitter at ESPO. That's Espo. You follow the show at PHNX_sports. And until next time, ahoy hoy.
We all silly like the mayor.